Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. Before we begin this lesson, we want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bahasham,
Bahasham,
Hawashai,
Yahweh Shai,
Bahasham,
Bahasham,
Chakwarash.
Rachakadash.
Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and it's sincere Shalom, taught a hopeful elect out there. Shalom to you all. So today's lesson is going to be about, you know, who your neighbor is and who is your brother. Okay, because in the world, they'll often quote scriptures, but they don't give you the real understanding, right? Especially in the Christian church, the so-called Christian church. All right, you've heard this before: love your neighbor as yourself, right? Which is, it says here Galatians 5:14. But today we're going to go into that. Who is your neighbor? All right, so we're going to start here in Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 18.
We have Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. And it says, Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord Yahweh.
Khan, you see that there? So it's saying not to avenge yourself or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Who are the children of our people? All right. We know that those are the Israelites, right? You so called Negroes, so called Latinos, and so called Native Americans, right? That's who it's talking about. It's not talking about everybody, every single person in the whole wide world, right? Because you got different nations of people, okay? And then it continues here, but thou shalt love thyself, implying that your neighbor is your fellow Israelite. Okay, and I gotta specify that because there was some videos out there talking about how Esau is your neighbor, or other nations are your neighbors. It's like no, it's just talking about Israelites. Okay, that's why we go into the precepts. So we're gonna go into this word neighbor as well in the blue letter. So I'm gonna go into the Hebrew. The word thy neighbor, raya. And if we scroll down, one of the definitions here is friend. Okay. So one of the definitions here is the word friend. Okay. So with that, we're going to get a precept. This is Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 8.
Isaiah chapter 41, verse 8. Kind. All right, and it says, but thou, Israel, are my servant Jacob, who I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. God.
Gone. You see that? So, when the Bible talks about the seed of Abraham, okay, the chosen seed is Jacob, man. All right, it's not just because everybody comes from Abraham, they're the chosen seed. No, it's talking about Jacob. But we're gonna go into this word friend in the Hebrew. Oh, and here's the correct definition: to people, Israel, as you can see. All right, so your neighbor is your fellow Israelite. And then we're gonna go to Matthew chapter 19 and verse 19.
God, we have Matthew chapter 19, verse 19. And it says, honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Khan, so this is another one of those scriptures that is often misinterpreted in the New Testament. It talks about loving as yourself, right? Yeah, people start saying, "Oh, see, you gotta love everybody, bro. You gotta love your boss. You got to love the, people that are conspiring against you, you know. Which that's not what it's talking about. It's just talking about your fellow Israelite, okay? And really on this side, you know, our true brothers and sisters and neighbors are the hopeful elect, okay? Because, not all Israel is of Israel, right? You got wicked Israelites, all right? And, there's a balance with that, okay? But on this side, we know that 2/3 are going to be destroyed, and those 2/3 are our enemies on this side as well. Okay, but they're gonna come back on the other side in order. All right, but yeah, this is clearly not talking about Esau or any of the other nations. It's talking about strictly the Israelites. Okay, and we're gonna get another precept about this. Some of these words like neighbor, brother, stuff like that. So we're going to go into Matthew chapter 12, and we'll start at verse 46.
We have Matthew chapter 12, verse 46. Salakia, there we go. All right, it says, while he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood out without discerning to speak with him. Desiring to speak with him.
Yeah, so there was his mom and his brothers. They were standing, and they wanted to talk to him.
Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without desiring to speak with thee. Because he answered and he said unto them that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren?
Hey, that's the same title of this video. Who is your mother and who is your brethren, right? Or similar to the, right?
In verse 50, it says, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
Get 49 as well with that, Bubba.
Oh, Salakia. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go back to 48. All right, it says, but he answered and he said up unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand towards his disciples and said, behold, my brother, my mother, and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother.
So again, yeah, same thing. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? Love your brother. These things you hear in the world, okay, is just talking about your fellow Israelites, okay? And namely now, the hopeful elect. Those of us that are in this truth sincerely, okay, we are truly each other's brothers, man. Right? Like I consider the brother Ratazawan my brother, right? And Ratazawan, feels the same way, I hope. But yeah, we definitely see each other as brothers, in this truth. Okay, now other Israelites, okay, they're our brothers too, but they're not in their right mind on this side. All right, and they're gonna be in that right mind when they come back on the other side, if they're not of the elect. Okay, but that's pretty much all it means. Just a basic lesson I want to get, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So with that, we'll give our glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham,
Rachakadash.
Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth, and shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom wa, abab abal. Shalom.
Shalom.